They say that only the good die young, but what about those who simply vanish without a trace? And today we're going to be counting down our list of 7 haunting disappearances with no explanation. Be sure to hit that like button for more videos. Let's get started. Number 7, Jimmy Hoffa. If you know anything about American labor history, then you've probably heard of Jimmy Hoffa, but if you don't, let me catch you up. Hoffa was a powerful union leader during the mid-20th century, specifically with the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Hoffa had quite the colorful career, dealing with everything from embezzlement to bribery, racketeering, and even attempted murder. It's no surprise that this man became the target of the FBI and eventually served time in federal prison for some of his activities. But upon his release, it seemed as though he simply disappeared off the face of the planet. In fact, Hoffa was declared legally dead in 2016, more than 30 years after he vanished. So what happened to him? The most popular theory suggests that the mob had something to do with his disappearance, especially since he was involved in some shady dealings with the mafia while leading the Teamsters. What makes the case of Jimmy Hoffa so intriguing is that nobody knows exactly where his body is, or even if it is buried at all. There are rumors that his body might be buried under the Giants Stadium, or even in the backyard of the house of former Detroit mob boss Anthony Jack, but despite numerous investigations, his remains have never been found. No, 6, the Beaumont children. This next case involves 3 young siblings from Australia who disappeared in 1966, forever changing their family and the country. 2-year-old Arna Beaumont, 9-year-old Jane Beaumont, and 7-year-old Grant Beaumont were last seen at Glenelg Beach on Australia's Playford Peninsula. Their parents left them in the care of a 15-year-old babysitter while they went out for dinner with some friends. But when they returned home later that evening, the children were nowhere to be seen. The babysitter claimed she left the kids playing on the beach, and when she turned around, they were gone. Despite extensive searches by police, the Beaumonts were never found. One of the main problems in the investigation was the lack of witnesses. People reported seeing 3 kids matching the description of the Beaumonts at different locations throughout South Australia in the days following their disappearance, but nothing concrete. This led investigators to believe that the children may have been abducted by multiple people acting independently. There have been plenty of theories surrounding the case over the years, but no real answers. And that's why. No, 5, Maura Murray. When 21-year-old nursing student Maura Murray crashed her car in Haverhill, New Hampshire in 2004, she should have been an easy case for local authorities. The crash itself was fairly minor, and Maura called her family to come pick up her car, which seemed to indicate that she wasn't injured and was simply embarrassed about the accident. However, she never made it home. Maura's family flew her back to her apartment, but when they arrived, it was discovered that she was missing. Her cell phone and keys were found inside the apartment, and there was no sign of forced entry, suggesting that she didn't get kidnapped. So where could she have possibly gone? A number of weird inconsistencies surround Maura's disappearance. She had been enrolled in nursing school but stopped attending classes a week before the incident. She also withdrew $300 from her bank account right before the crash and spent $80 at Walmart, though she didn't buy anything large or conspicuous. Since the investigation began, more than 60,000 people have volunteered to search for Maura, yet she has still not been found. Number 4, Brandon Lawson. On August 30th, 2017, 19-year-old Brandon Lawson left his home in Jackson, Mississippi to attend a party. He was wearing a black t-shirt, black jeans, and black shoes, and drove a silver 2005 Dodge Magnum. But he never made it to the party. In fact, Brandon was never seen again. When Brandon didn't return home that night, his mother wasn't overly concerned because he had a history of staying out late. But when he failed to show up for work the next day, his mom knew something was wrong. Police conducted a search of the area where the party was held, but couldn't find any trace of Brandon or his car. They did, however, discover a short while later that his credit card had been used at a convenience store in Bayram, Mississippi, but that was the last activity associated with him. With no leads, police struggled to determine what really happened to Brandon. Was he kidnapped? Did he run away? Or was foul play involved? The truth is they don't know, and neither does anyone else. No, 3, the Sauter children. Of all the mysterious disappearances in this video, this one is perhaps the most disturbing. In December 1945, 4 of the 5 Sauter children vanished from their home in Fayetteville, West Virginia. 4-year-old Martha, 2-year-old Jenny, 3-month-old Louie, and 5-week-old Catherine seemingly disappeared into thin air. Their father, George Sauter, came downstairs in the middle of the night to get a glass of milk and noticed that the latch on the back door was broken. Upon further inspection, he realized that the children were missing. George immediately alerted the police, and a massive search ensued, but the kids were nowhere to be found. One of the most haunting aspects of the Sauter case is that the mother, Jenny, received a chilling phone call a few months later from someone claiming to be a doctor. The person on the other end of the line told her that she would be hearing from him soon regarding her children, but refused to give his name or elaborate on anything else. After hanging up, George and Jenny waited anxiously for word from the mysterious caller, but he never contacted them again. The most compelling aspect of the case is that the children were never found, and police couldn't determine how they disappeared. Some believe the kids ran away with their father's former business partner, while others suspect that the children were kidnapped and sold to a traveling carnival. No to Kenneth McConnell. In 1998, the residents of Santa Rosa, California knew Kenneth McConnell as a friendly homeless man who often panhandled in the downtown area. However, one day he vanished and was never seen again. Security footage shows that on the morning of April 1998, McConnell was captured walking westbound on College Avenue. That same day, he was seen on surveillance video entering the basement of an apartment building on Sonoma Avenue. Nobody knows why he went there, or who he might have met in the basement. That afternoon, someone withdrew $300 from McConnell's bank account at an odd-end near Montgomery Village. Then, as if by magic, he disappeared. Since his disappearance, the only confirmed sighting was in Oregon in 2000, more than 2 years after he vanished. While panhandling along Interstate 5, a motorist claimed to have seen Kenneth, but when he turned around, the homeless man was gone. Police have no idea what happened to him. No, 1. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. This final entry is a bit different from the others on this list, since it involves the disappearance of more than 200 people. But the mystery behind MH370 continues to baffle investigators and aviation experts alike. On March 8, 2014, the Boeing 777 took off from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, bound for Beijing, China. But somewhere over the Indian Ocean, the plane veered off course and lost contact with air traffic control. An extensive search of the area uncovered no sign of the aircraft or its passengers. And despite a $1 billion search effort, no wreckage was ever found. The case was officially declared an accident and all 239 people on board were presumed dead. But the fact that no wreckage was ever recovered leaves a small glimmer of hope that the plane landed somewhere and everybody survived. Investigators believe the pilots intentionally diverted the flight path, but they don't know why. Many conspiracy theories have arisen since the incident, including the possibility that the plane was hijacked, that there was an explosion on board the aircraft, or that the plane was shot down by a missile. We may never know the truth about what happened to MH370. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like button for more videos.